Bergen-Fischer Media.
Hey, it's Monday, here we go. It's the Call Me Tony Show.
It is Monday morning. First Monday in a while, actually. I feel like it's been a minute since I talked to you guys last. And I guess a big part of the reason, if not the only reason for that, is I wasn't sure if anybody was listening. I wasn't sure if I should keep doing this show. I wasn't sure if there was enough room to do this show and In the Blood, because I only really know how to podcast one way, I guess. And that one way is to be personal and transparent and as authentic as I possibly can be. One of the byproducts of that is that whatever I share here ends up following a very similar format to the kind of content I would produce for In the Blood. And it got me to thinking, like, is there any point doing Call Me Tony if I'm already doing In the Blood? Is there too much overlap between these two shows? And after a lot of soul searching, I realized that, you know what, yeah, there's going to be a lot of overlap because the common theme between the two shows is me. And no matter where I go or what I talk about, I'm always going to sound like me. I can't avoid that, right? So I decided, screw it. I'm going to keep on doing this show because whereas In the Blood has got a set theme where there are some limitations that are going to be introduced there, this place is one where I can come and I can talk about whatever is hitting me in the moment. Whatever my mood is at, wherever my headspace is at, I can share from there. There's no need to research, no need to script. I don't even need to take notes if I don't want to. I can be mild-mannered one episode. I can be a straight dickhead the next. I can watch my language. I can not watch my language and bleep things out later. I mean, really, as far as podcasting goes, for me, this is kind of like the wild, wild west, you know, without the super, super cool factor. So yeah, screw it. I'm just going to keep on doing this show because it feels good. And as far as the concern about nobody listening, weirdly, as much as this show seems to have gotten off to a bit of a slow start, you know, the first few weeks, the first few episodes, there was just a handful of people that seemed like they were tuning in. When I went back to go look at the download statistics just before sitting down to record this morning, I realized that while I was taking this little bit of a break from this show, a bunch of people discovered it. Now, I don't think that this is going to be the project that's going to catapult me past my Z-grade celebrity status into something a little bit more popular, but there's enough people tuning in where I can easily justify continuing to do this. Obviously, somebody's getting something out of this, and I'm also somebody who's getting something out of this. So yeah, whatever. Obviously, no need to mention that this isn't scripted and I don't have any notes. If you can't hear that by now, well, I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, I had thoughts. I've had a lot of thoughts actually the last few weeks, and it might sound weird to come back from a little bit of a break in a bit of a negative mindset, but that's just where I'm at honestly right now. And it's not like I'm sitting here looking at the dark cloud that is my life, unable to see a silver lining. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good things that are happening in my life right now. In some ways, this is the best phase of my life that I've ever had, but in other ways, it's kind of the worst. And there's a couple things about my upbringing that I think were a little bit unhealthy. One was that acknowledging negative things was never really allowed. My dad really believed that if you acknowledge the negative, then you effectively were speaking it into existence. You were giving the negativity some power. So, I mean, he was a big, big fan of always look at the silver lining. Don't look at anything except the silver lining. Basically repress all the negative emotions, ignore all the negative observations, and just live in this delusional, unsustainable world of toxic positivity. And I don't want to do that anymore. I can't keep on repressing, like sometimes the dark cloud exists and that's perfectly okay. It doesn't take away from the silver lining. It just means that like between the silver lining and the dark cloud, there's your full picture of reality. Fuck it. That's what it is. And that's what I'm looking at. So whereas I mentioned, there is that silver lining right now of all these wonderful things that are going on, wonderful people, wonderful relationships, wonderful opportunity, wonderful blah, 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 blah. There's some negative shit going on too. And I mentioned a moment ago that there was a couple of things about childhood that were like kind of messed up about like the things that my dad had taught me. The toxic positivity was one of them. The other one, which I didn't really understand to be a problem until the last couple of years, was this idea that manhood, masculinity is defined by physical strengths. Maybe not just physical strength, but just basically like these strong characteristics, these abilities. And, if I think back to one of my earliest memories of like hanging out with my dad, where this lesson started coming up, where like being strong, that was manly, that was desirable. This was a defining characteristic of who I was supposed to be, was my dad putting his big, rough, calloused fingers around my bony little bicep and saying, okay, son, make a muscle for me. And of course, I would like grit my teeth and I would try to make the biggest muscle possible. And he would pretend like he was just wowed by the muscle tone that was going on in my young little arm. And he'd say, good man. And then he would show me his arm. He'd flex his bicep. And, he was a pretty well-built guy at the time. And he's like, one day you're going to have muscles like these. And that gave me something to look forward to. I did get to an age where, like I didn't ever end up being quite as well built as my dad, but I got pretty strong. I was pretty proud of my arms there for a while. I could lift heavy things. I could run fast. I could do all sorts of amazing feats of strength and speed and endurance. Like I really did feel very, very much like a man, like a manly man, and in like the traditional toxic sense. But as I'm getting older now and I'm losing these abilities, I'm losing the muscle tone in my arms that I was once so proud of. I'm losing the ability to lift heavy things. I'm losing the ability to move at great speeds. I'm losing the endurance. It's really left me thinking that I've got to start thinking about how I define manhood in a different way. Making me think about if I can even figure out on a personal level how to define manhood differently, because this definition is something I've been living with as long as I can remember. I mean, I'm in my 50s now. I don't remember ever thinking about things in a different way. And it's not like I would look at another man who's not strong or fast or who doesn't have endurance, somebody who's like a little bit more soft, somebody who's more emotionally connected. I would never look at a man like that and think he's somehow less than. This isn't about how I define others. This is how I've been taught to define me. This is how I'm comfortable defining myself. I want everybody to understand that before we even get going here. This is a total me thing. And now that I've cleared up that disclaimer, strength, ability, these things were the things that gave me independence. These are the things that made me feel like I didn't have to rely on anybody. I felt capable of taking care of myself, and not just in a macho, like, oh, I can beat somebody up because I'm big and strong and blah, 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 blah. No, it was just, like I could take care of myself. I can do the things that I want to do, basically. And I felt really, really, really good about that. So much of my identity was wrapped up in my abilities, and that self-worth it's really been under attack while I lose these abilities that I had built myself upon. And I don't want to get deep into the weeds of, cultural or societal expectations of masculinity reinforcing this idea. Like, I just want to keep things like really, really personal here. Over the last couple of years, I've developed some mobility issues. And my doctor had recommended to me that to take some of the pressure off one of my legs, if you consider just using a cane on the days or during the times where you're struggling, just to make sure you're not putting any unnecessary mileage on these joints that are causing you so much pain. And the reality is that, walking with the cane, it does accelerate the healing process. It gets me back to that point where I don't need the cane pretty damn quickly. But for that first little bit, holy fuck, was it ever embarrassing having to go out in public with the cane? Because, I always say this to people, like, I'm too young to feel this old. But at the same time, I don't get to decide how young or old I am. My body's going to dictate the pace, and my body sometimes tells me, you know what? I don't give a shit about your ego. You need the cane. You're going out in public with it, like it or not. And that's just the way it's going to be. And, it took some getting used to. But I eventually got to the point where I stopped looking at this thing as an embarrassment. I started looking at it more as an appliance that was purpose built to enhance my comfort and mobility. Like, nothing wrong with that. I've had prescription glasses for many, many years. I don't remember feeling this way when I first needed glasses to see clearly at distance. And I suppose a lot of that had to do with the fact that, while the glasses actually enhanced my ability for the last 15 or so years, I could just as easily-ish go without them a lot of the time. If I didn't feel like wearing the glasses or whatever, I just didn't wear the glasses. Maybe I needed to squint a little bit more. Maybe I couldn't see quite as far, but I was fully functional. But one of the frustrating developments with the prescription eyewear was earlier this year. It's like I had gone to the dollar store because I realized I'm having trouble reading things. I ended up upgrading my computer, getting something with a larger monitor, just so that I could work a little bit more easily. I had to give up my MacBook because I just the screen was too small. And I don't know, when I got to got into those just cheap dollar store reading glasses, it really made it easier to get through the day with certain things. My phone suddenly became way less blurry. I was able to pick up books again, not a big deal. And it's weird how the mind plays tricks on you, as I was sitting there thinking, well, as long as it's just these dollar store reading glasses, as long as I haven't gone to see an eye doctor, this is optional. I don't need the glasses. I choose the glasses. And somehow I was able to keep my fragile masculinity intact by telling myself this lie. But I got tired of these cheap, crappy glasses breaking. I got tired of how quickly the lenses get dirty. I got tired of how difficult they are to clean. And finally, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I've got great insurance. I'm just going to go get myself some proper glasses. I went in. It turned out that my regular prescription was out of date. It needed to be tuned up. It also turned out that I definitely need reading glasses, prescription reading glasses. So, I got bifocals, which again, I'd always equated bifocals with being old. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but it was a bit of an emotional experience. The bifocals make everything super, super easy for me, but I hate wearing them. I hate having to accept that I need them. But, still, I kind of got used to it, and I was able to appreciate the fact that, just like with the cane, once I got past the embarrassment factor, I realized that this is something that's just helping me navigate life in a more comfortable and easy way. My ego was still damaged. It was not left unscathed. It's just as fragile as it's always been. But the number of blows I had taken, it was still manageable. But the latest blow, I mean, the one that's really just got me, like, honestly pissed off, like, not just feeling fragile, not just feeling threatened, but actually angry, is I've had really, really bad tinnitus, ringing in the ears for many, many years now. And it's gotten to the point where it's starting to affect my mental health. So I talked to the doctor, my family doctor, and said, look, is there anything that you can do about this? He said, I can't personally do anything, but I will refer you to an audiologist. So cool. I go to see the audiologist. I go through all these hearing tests. And not surprisingly, I have some high level hearing loss, which I fully expected. What I wasn't expecting was that this hearing loss was going to be dramatic enough where her recommendation was that I be fitted for hearing aids. And some people listening might think, well, this is like a silly thing to get hung up on. But I mean, this is the thing I'm hung up on. I don't want hearing aids and bifocals and a cane. I'm 51 fucking years old. And as much as it's something I say all the time, as much as this might be stupid, I really am convinced that I am too young to be this old. My dad didn't have these issues at this age. My grandfathers didn't have these issues at this age. Nobody I know has these issues at this age. Like, why me? I've always been one of the more stronger, one of the more capable, one of the just more manly people in my realm of experience. And here I am, broken down and fragile, and needing all these things just to do everyday stuff. And I think when I dig into it, when I wonder, okay, where's the anger coming from? Because anger is never a primary emotion. Anger is, I really do believe, is a symptom of something else that's going on. So when I start looking inside at what is this other thing that's going on, or what are these other things potentially that are going on underneath the surface? What is motivating this anger? What are the roots of it? I realized that feeling angry, I mean, it feels strong. I could smash things. I could yell at things. I don't know. Maybe I couldn't smash things. Maybe yelling at things, I'd start coughing. Maybe a lot of things. I don't know. But it's just like this impulse to physically assert my dominance has become really, really overwhelming the last week or so. It's like I feel like I need to do something. I need to express myself in this unhealthy, unattainable, toxically masculine way, and I'm not really sure what to do with it right now. And I know that at some point I'm going to have to figure out how to redefine my masculinity based on what I've got to work with. I know I'm going to have to focus more on other qualities within myself. I don't want to focus on these qualities right now. I feel like I spent so much time focusing on these other qualities, but I still want to mourn the loss of these abilities that are slipping through my fingers. And it's weird. I never expected to grieve the loss of myself. I mean, I've lost loved ones before, and that kind of grief was predictable. There's a lot of support that shows up for that. People get it, right? Like, it hurts when somebody you love is gone. But this thing that I'm dragging around with me this week, it's like the more people I approach, the less supported I feel. I get like so many different versions of, oh, come on, it's not that bad. There's so many good things about you. You'll figure it out. You're a smart guy. You've got all these things going for you. Don't focus on the dark cloud. At the same time, like, well, maybe it's okay just to talk about it, just express it. But I mean, the vibe I get is like, talk about it, just not to me. And I'm not trying to be a downer. It's just like, I don't know what the hell to do with this stuff. I know the season of like feeling better will come. I mean, like, grief works that way. I've been through this shit enough times to know. But right now, I feel like I just want to take a few minutes to say, I'm not okay with this. You know, finding the silver lining isn't always easy. And like, well, in a general sense, I feel like my life does have a silver lining. I'm just like trying to focus in on this little drawer full of problems here. I don't know what the silver lining is on losing the characteristics, the physical characteristics that make me feel like me. At the same time, you know what? I'm giving myself permission to not see that silver lining, because what am I going to do? I'm going to beat myself up for lacking an ability. I can't do it right now. I mean, if I could do it, I don't really want to be honest. Like, I feel like being pouty. I feel like thinking dark thoughts and stamping my feet and being like a little bit bitchy. That's okay, right? And, you know, like, I'm not entirely wallowing. I mean, I'm still trying to cope and grow through the changes. I'm like still indulging in my hobbies, my mindfulness exercises. I'm connecting with other people as much as I possibly can. I'm looking for support wherever it's available. You know, like, doesn't matter what's going on with me, with you, with anybody else. We cannot overemphasize the importance of self-care and mental health maintenance, especially when we're going through times of transition. What I'm kind of hoping is that I'm going to find some power through expressing myself vulnerably and like opening up. These are the things that like I find that I'm as much as I've been a very open and authentic person these last however many years I've been podcasting, it still scares me when I need to open up, when I need to be honest and let people see behind the curtain. Being open and vulnerable is not my natural state, and it doesn't matter how much I do it. It never gets easy. It never gets comfortable. But because of that, whenever I do open up, I'm facing a gigantic fear. I'm confronting insecurity, and weirdly, that is empowering. I realize that I can do it. And I guess that's part of what I'm hoping to accomplish here. So anyways, I don't want to like keep on going on and on like this. Basically, I just wanted to share where I'm at right now. So I guess what I got to work on moving forward is I got to figure out how to redefine my masculinity. I've got to accept the realities that come along with aging. I need to like figure out how to immerse myself in acceptance of the way things are. You know, like if I was talking to a client, I'd tell them that, you know, change is hard, but it can lead to a deeper understanding and new kinds of strength. And it's not like it's bullshit advice. I think it's good advice. It's just advice that I wish I could get from somebody else, because I'm just like, I'm not buying it, hearing it from myself. But yeah, anyways, I guess that's where we're at. So as always, my friends, if you've got thoughts on this or anything else I've talked about, either on this show or on any others, feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you, especially now. Call me TonyPod@yahoo.com. I don't think I've ever done this before on a podcast, but if any of you has any words of encouragement for me, like anybody's gone through similar things, or you can maybe help coach me through this time, please do me a solid and reach out. I actually need you right now. Anyways, my friends, until next week, take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you next Monday.